When George E. Merrick first decided to join hotel magnate John McIntee Bowman in constructing a grand resort, his goal was to cater to the hordes of people who were flocking to Florida to take advantage of the state's land boom. Merrick had already created the residential and affluent neighborhoods of Coral Gables, laying down strict guidelines to make sure that this area of mansions, golf courses, and country clubs would remain as pristine and beautiful as residents' wallets were thick. The hotel would be the culmination of his work, a place for the wealthy to relax and a center for sport and fashion. Prominent, prominent hotelier Bowman had erected hotels in Los Angeles, Atlanta, and New York, and brought all his expertise to bear in guiding Merrick's vision to fruition. Construction began in 1925. 10 months and 10 million later, Florida's Biltmore Hotel was open and ready for business. The hype surrounding its opening captivated the imaginations of people in the North, many of whom caught trains marked Miami Biltmore specials to see for themselves the Biltmore's first step into history. Within months, the Biltmore could bask in the glow of its success and popularity. Its address had become the most coveted and desired in all of Florida, with stars such as Ginger Rogers, Judy Garland, and Bing Crosby vying with royalty, including the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, for accommodations at this American interpretation of the French Riviera. A steady schedule of galas, fashion, and water shows from North America's largest swimming pool kept the public fascinated. Thousands gathered under the Biltmore's copper-plated Giralda Tower on a Sunday afternoon to take in sights, ranging from synchronized swimmers to bathing beauties to alligator wrestling. Yet while the people watched, they little realized that they too had become a spectacle, for where money went, so too did avarice. There were those in the crowds observing, devising means to deprive the wealthy of their fortunes. One of these individuals was Edward Wilson. Wilson saw in the restraints of prohibition the opportunity to amass a fortune by selling alcohol and gambling. At the Biltmore, Wilson would be able to work with a steady and reliable clientele of wealthy customers. Wilson established his operations on the 13th and 14th floors of the hotel, creating a speakeasy and a casino. In 1928, he took on a partner, Thomas Fatty Walsh, a mobster who had relocated to Florida from New York City to escape suspicion regarding the disappearance of several men. The partnership, initially warm, soon chilled. In March 1929, with over 100 people gambling at the tables on the 13th floor, Wilson shot Walsh twice. Walsh died, but by the time police arrived to investigate, they found nothing but Walsh's dead body. The floor had been cleared of all tables and people. The police had no witnesses, no evidence, and no suspects. And when rumors began that the Dade County District Attorney's offices had spirited Wilson out of the country to Cuba, reports that the police were involved somehow with the gambling operation were quick to follow. The theory gained more momentum, and in 1946, when Los Angeles police officers heard that the FBI had in their custody a man named Wilson, who confessed to Walsh's death. The LAPD asked for records of the Florida police investigation, but were told that none existed. The Biltmore suffered little in the wake of the news of the Walsh's murder. It continued to prosper, soldiering on through the Great Depression on the strength of its aquatic galas. But even the Biltmore could not remain immune from the effects of World War II. The War Department appropriated the hotel and converted it into a hospital, sealing its windows with concrete and covering its marble floors with linoleum. When the war was over, it became the site of the University of Miami's School of Medicine and remained a hospital until 1968. In 1975, Coral Gables, under the Historic Monuments Act and Legacy of Parks, acquired ownership of its fabled building. For nearly a decade, the once grand Biltmore sat unoccupied. The only people who would draw near were those who were attracted by reports of strange lights moving their way through the abandoned floors. People began to believe that any number of spirits haunted the Biltmore, that it was clear Thomas Fatty Walsh and various patients who passed away in the building when it was the Army's Air Force Regional Hospital still had unfinished business from their times on Earth. Finally, in 1983, the city undertook the full restoration of the Biltmore, ripping up linoleum to expose the marbled floors and pulling down concrete from windows. After 4 years and $55 million, the Biltmore reopened on December 31st, 1987. A multinational corporation led by Seaway Hotels took ownership in June 1992, leasing the building from Coral Gables and making several significant changes to the property. But while the Biltmore had been restored, some things within have never needed upkeep or restoration. When the building lay empty and abandoned for nearly 10 years, people thought it might be haunted. Now people knew it. Most of the activity in the Biltmore is concentrated on the 13th floor where Walsh died. Walsh's spirit is allegedly quite light-hearted, writing "boo" on steamy bathroom mirrors, opening doors for bellhops, and stopping elevators on the floor, even when the button for the 13th floor was never pushed. He is mischievous, not malicious, and longs for company. Walsh, though, is not the only spirit here. A woman staying in the hospital in 1999 reported seeing the figure of a young man in a hospital gown walking in her room. Joyce Elson Moore describes in Hunter's Guide to Florida how, during a seance recorded on audio tape, a psychic felt the presence of an old man with a cane. While in the room, the psychics heard nothing unusual, but when the tape was played back, recorded sounds of tapping were heard. The sound was so loud that it almost drowned out the psychic's voice. Moore also recounts the time a group of enthusiasts explored the hotel with tape recorders. They, like the psychics, heard nothing while in the building. When the tapes were played back, everyone heard heavy breathing and sighs that hadn't been heard in the hotel, echoes of the Biltmore's past. The Biltmore is now a National Historic Landmark, conferred that distinction upon its 70th anniversary in 1996. Its architecture has been displayed in films such as Bad Boys and The Specialist. It is now one of the world's premier luxury resorts, but it is reportedly the world's largest haunted house and Florida's most haunted hotel. Home still to the varied roster of guests who have made their stay in the Biltmore permanent.